My name is Miss Lazama, as you guys know, and today we're going to go over a science standard, which is going to be classify flowering and non-flowering plants into major groups, such as those that produce seeds or those like ferns and mosses that produce spores according to their physical characteristics. Our objective, so I'm going to present to you a presentation about plants, and with this, you guys will be able to classify those plants as a non-flowering plant or a flowering plant based on its physical characteristics, with an 80% or 4 out of 5 questions correct on our Kahoot quiz that we're going to have at the end of the lesson. Today we're going to work on first our bell ringer for science. Then I'm going to show you the PowerPoint. We're going to have some group presentations, and then we're going to work on the Kahoot quiz individually. Okay, so let's get started. I will be handing out mystery boxes to each table. Now, I'm going to model what I want to see from you. What I need you to do is use your sense of hearing. What do we use to hear? Yes, we use the ears to hear. So, do not look at the box at all and just shake it. That's the first thing I want you to do. Use your sense of hear. Shake it. Write down what you hear. Now we're going to use the sense of smell. Do not look. Keep your eyes closed and you're going to smell inside out. You're going to smell inside and see, okay, what does it smell like? And you're going to use your sense of touch. Without looking still, I need you to go put your hand inside the hole that's provided and touch it. Now be careful, some of these are pointy. And I want you to think, what kind of plant do I think is inside this box? Because that's what is inside of your box, the type of plant. But I need you to think really hard and write your descriptions on your bell ringer. So for number 1, the objective feels like, so here you guys are, I'm gonna pass out. This is for your table, remember, no peeking. This is for your table. Okay, everybody has boxes. Excellent. So fill in the blank. Number 1 for your bell ringer. What does it feel like? The object feels like, write it down. You could write how it smells like. Maybe it has a smell, maybe it doesn't. You could write how you hear, there's something heavy or there's something light in there. Okay, for number 2, I predict that inside the box there is what? What do you think it is? Because you already felt it. What do you think there is in there? Go ahead and write down your answer. Now you're going to justify your answer. I feel there is this because I felt that it was that it had a lot of leaves, because I felt that it was sharp, because I felt. Justify your answer, okay? And number 3, you're going to leave blank. Number 3 says, I was blank about my prediction. It was a blank. So we're going to go back to that. Leave you guys to open up your science notebook to this page right over here. I believe it's page 38. Okay, and inside you will find cards with plant names on them. They're not colored in, but if you guys are finished writing the notes that we take on this presentation, you guys could go ahead and color it in. I need you guys to go ahead and find this page right over here. This is where we're going to be writing our notes for our presentation. And our notes are going to be on this Venn diagram. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. I want you guys to be on this page right over here because this is the first part. It says plants can be classified into 2 groups. Now remember, today's lesson is on classification of plants. So let's find out what 2 groups can they be classified in. Again, classify. What does classify mean? Grouping. Yes, grouping, categorizing, sorting. Okay? So let's find out. Classifying plants. Plants can be classified into 2 groups. I want you to write these 2 groups down on your notebook. Group number 1, flowering plant. Group number 2, non-flowering plant. The notebook has the 2 numbers, group number 1, group number 2. Go ahead and write those 2 down. flowering plants. Open up to your Venn diagram to flowering plants. We're going to be taking notes over here on the side. If I had an overhead, I would read the presentation and then show the class the notes I take little by little. Anyways, let me continue. Flowering plants. I want you guys to write this definition down. Flowering plants are plants that make flowers. It's in the name. Flowering plants. It says it right there. Flower. Plants that make flowers. Their job is to make fruits with seeds. Okay, so types of flowering plants can also be like an apple tree because it provides seeds and it creates fruits that have seeds inside. A fun fact, now I want you to write one fun fact under flowering plants and one fun fact for non-flowering plants. One fun fact is that it's the largest plant group. Okay, it can be found in your yards. It can be found in the deserts, rainforests, and even underwater. Examples of them are on here. The water lily, I don't know if you know, but the water lily grows from underneath the water. It grows a long stem all the way to the top. Grass. How many of you guys knew that grass is a flowering plant? Most of you say, oh, but my grass in the backyard doesn't have flowers. Well, that's because you mow it. If you let it grow, it would come to be flowers. It would grow a lot of flowers. And another example is the hibiscus. Now, like I said, if you're finished with the writing, you could also be coloring in your examples, okay? Find the examples on the back, you could write flowering plants so you remember. You could test yourself later. Non-flowering plants. We have two types of non-flowering plants. We have the type, I want you to write down on your Venn diagram real quick. Write down first the definition of non-flowering plants. Non-flowering plants. What does non mean? N-O-N, non. Not. Okay, it's close to, it sounds like no, it sounds like not. Okay, it's a negative word. Non-flowering. So its definition means plants that do not make flowers. Do not make flowers. So go ahead and write that definition down. Plants that do not make flowers. Okay, and below that, I want you to write two types. Make it number 1 and write with cones. I will show this in the overhead again. And then give a little space and write with spores. S-P-O-R-E-S. If you couldn't spell it out while I told you, it's okay. We're going to go to the next slide where you're going to be able to see it. So the first one is, so let's classify plants. The first one I'm going to show you, I'm going to classify, okay? I'm going to show you how I classify it. So this is the picture of the plant I need to classify. So one question I need to ask myself, does it make seeds? Does it grow seeds? Well, it's a flower. Remember, flowers use seeds to produce, okay? They reproduce with seeds. So yes, this seed is like right in the middle of the flower. So yes, this has seed. Question number 2, does it grow flowers? Yeah, that's a picture of a flower, right? It's a violet. All right, so my answer, the way I would answer this is violets are flowering plants. Why? Because a physical characteristic that I saw was that it makes flowers. Okay, now our turn as a class. We're going to work together to figure this out. Look at this picture really closely. I'm going to give you a few seconds to look at the picture. And this picture is of it says liverworts. Look at it closely. Think about, what does it look like? Does it look like a flowering plant or non-flowering plant? If you think it's a non-flowering plant, which kind? With cones or with spores? Okay. So let's pretend we already give you a lot of time to think. Question number 1. Does it grow seeds? Well, we can't really tell if it grows seeds because it's spread out. So I'm going to go with, I don't see any flowers on it, so I'm going to go with no. Question number 2, does it grow flowers? I answered my question. No, we don't see any flowers there, right? It looks like it's been spread out by itself. So I think, what do you guys think? Let me hear, what are your opinions? Raise your hand if you think it's a flowering plant. Okay, raise your hand if you think it's a non-flowering plant. Okay, most of you got it, excellent. So yes, it is a non-flowering plant. Now raise your hand, there's 2 types of flowering plant. There's a with cones and with spores. So who thinks it's with cones? Raise your hand. Who thinks it's with spores? Okay. So answer this for me. The plant's name is liverwort, so we're going to say liverworts is a flowering or non-flowering?
Non-flowering.
Non-flowering plant. Excellent. Because one physical characteristic that I observed was, does it grow flowers, seeds, or spores?
Spores.
It grows spores. Excellent. Now your turn. Look at this plant really closely and answer the 2 questions. Does it grow seeds? Does it grow flowers? Now remember, seeds are inside fruit. Seeds are inside cones. So does this plant grow seeds? For the We Do assignment, here is the poster. Now you guys could look inside your boxes and see what is inside. Were you right about your prediction, what you said it was inside, or were you wrong? Go ahead and answer that 3rd bell ringer question on your notebook really quick. I told you we'll be back to that. Okay, and now I gave you times to write. I have the instructions on the overhead. I want you to look at the instructions of what I want you guys to do. You will now classify the plant you have been given. So that plant that's inside your box, you're going to classify it. On your poster, you must have the following 4 things. How many things? Write the group the plant belongs to. Okay? Is it flowering plant or non-flowering plant? You guys will discuss with your group members. Do you think it is a flowering plant or non-flowering plant? Number 2, write its physical properties. What are we gonna write?
Its physical properties.
This is what you wrote on your journal. How does it feel? How does it smell? How does it look now that you saw it? Number 3, you're going to draw the plant. Go ahead and draw a nice big picture that our class could see of the plant. And number 4, you're going to write and complete the statement on your poster. This is a blank plant, flowering or non-flowering. Because one physical characteristic we observed was, okay, it could be that you saw that it has seeds, it has spores, or it has what was the one? Flowers, okay? Let's get started. Go ahead. So we're going to pretend everybody made their posters so they will present to the class. All right, class. So you will be presented with 5 pictures on this Kahoot quiz, and you will classify them as either flowering plants, non-flowering plants with cones, or non-flowering plants with spores. It's okay if you don't know an answer. I suggest that you try your best and guess an answer. But if you really don't know, there is also going to be an option to choosing don't know. Alrighty, let's just waiting on one more person. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so are you ready?
No.
Grass is a flowering plant, non-flowering plant with cones, non-flowering plant with spores, or I don't know. Choose an answer. I know there's only one person, so this question was really fast answered. It's okay. Let's go on to the next question. It's okay. Okay, the bougainvillea is a... What type of plant is this? Really think about it. Now for each question, I get to put the timer on. For all of them, I'll put like 30 seconds. I just want to make it this one. So go ahead and choose your answer. Learn about. Somebody tell me. Yes? How to sort plants. What's the word I'm looking for? Starts with a C. We learned this new word today. How to
Classify.
classify a plant. Thank you. Okay, so how did we do this? We worked on the classification of plants by learning how to look and see the physical characteristics, smell the physical characteristics, touch the physical characteristics, and hear, right, of a plant. Now I want you to turn and talk to your partner and ask, what are two group plants? What are two groups plants can be classified into? What are the two groups that plants can be classified into? Okay, now that you ask yourself this, I have one more question. I want you to look at this plant right over here. Can somebody tell me, is this a non-flowering plant or a flowering plant? And I want you guys to say, because I see the physical characteristic of, yes?
It's a flowering plant because I see the characteristics of a flower.
You
on
see
it.
the flowers, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It has flowers. Good job. Okay, now class, tomorrow we will be looking into the animal kingdom. We're going to learn the groups that animals can be classified in.